Let's go to Dan on line 3. Dan, you're on Heart of the Matter.
Hi there. I've got a question for you about the reincarnation in the Bible. This Melchizedek subject has kind of got me thinking there are other scriptures that refer to kind of in a way of incarnation of people. For instance, a scripture in the New Testament where they ask, why is this girl blind? And Jesus, was it her parents who have sinned that this person is blind? And Jesus said, regardless of who it is, of why it happened, she is blind, and let's help her. There's other scriptures too. What do you think about reincarnation in the Bible?
Okay, first, Dan, when the Pharisees come to Jesus and they say, was this man born blind because his parents sinned or because he sinned, right? The Jews were under the false impression which carried over from the Greeks. Now, remember, the Greeks were 400 years before Christ, and we're talking about classic Greek, and they believed in a pre-existence. And so those fables carried over into the Jewish mindset. And they positioned Jesus and they said, hey, who did this? And Jesus' answer was, hey, look, it was for the glory of God that this man was born blind. And then he heals him. They believed in a thing called the transmigration of souls. And that was where one soul would leap to another and at death. Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard's Scientology teaches the very same thing today. So these things have been long existent and probably even predated Hellenistic thought. But listen to this. Jesus said, I am from above, you are from beneath. There was no pre-existence. In fact, this is a perfect commercial for next week's show, Pre-Existence, and we'll really cover this. But let me say this. In the Bible, we have instances where angels of the Lord are thought to have been Christ, where there's Christophanies of his appearance. Now, you say reincarnation. You have to remember that these were not tangible flesh and blood beings. They were in the appearance of men, just like at Sodom and Gomorrah when the angels came. But they were not flesh and blood beings, because that would make them incarnate. And if they died and then they reincarnated, that would mean reincarnation was true. But when they made appearances in the Old Testament, they were spiritual beings in the form of man. And then Jesus was not reincarnated. He was incarnated when he became a man for the first and last time. Does that help?
So when he was Melchizedek, was he a man? I guess is my only...
He was a pre-incarnate vision of Christ.
Okay, so a vision.
King of righteousness, yeah. Angel, okay. You could call him. They call him the angel of the Lord.
Okay, I just have one other quick topic here. What's the difference, would you say, between the Catholic priesthood and the Mormon priesthood as far as one being worse than the other? Wouldn't they both be
in the book of Revelation, Jesus goes through the 7 churches. And when he comes to one church, I can't remember what it was, it may have been Sardis, he says they do the practice of the Nicolaitans. And what that is when men, the laity, the Latines, the Nicolaitans, when they put a man in between God and the individual. And Jesus said, and this thing I hate, the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, where you have a priest who's in between you and God. That's what Jesus came for, to tear that veil down, so there was no need for the high priest anymore.
It makes sense. I thought Melchizedek being the actual king of a place, going back to that, I picture a man and not an angel. I guess if you're a literal king of Salem, that it would be a flesh and blood person, but I don't know. That's just where...
King of righteousness, king of peace. The Salem was king of peace, king of Jerusalem. That's Jesus. And all the other things, without beginning of days, without father or mother, all Jesus if you look at it spiritually.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, my brother.
All right.
Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, God bless.